bit about Awakened Soul, right? But Awakened Soul is a lifestyle company, and it's a community. And so if you look on their Facebook page, you'll see that Awakened Soul is bringing in amazing people from all different walks of life, sharing their passions and helping to elevate those who are interested and who are following them to a higher state of consciousness, a more sensitive state of awareness. And they bring in people, and they promote and they share information that helps us to elevate our lifestyle choices, things that help us with our well-being, food, nutrition, dietary styles, and lots of different healing modalities. So they're on Facebook and Instagram, and so they'll be offering and promoting lots of different online platforms like this, right? Hormonal Health classes and events. So I'm very grateful, Francesca and Awakened Soul, to have been invited to share about hormonal health from a yogic perspective. Okay, so as I said from the beginning about hormonal health, lots of different perspectives. And who am I, and why am I sitting here? What do I know about hormonal health? Well, I'm Siri Prakash-Bullock, and I currently live here in Bali, Indonesia. I arrived here in Bali through living in the Philippines for a good number of years. Before I moved to the Philippines, I was working as a holistic nutrition consultant and educator. So I have a master's degree in holistic nutrition. I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher and teacher trainer, and have been in that field for about 25 years. And so through yoga and through nutrition and working with a lot of different functional medicine doctors and nutritionists in California, a lot with women and weight loss, which has a lot to do with our hormones. And then having experienced myself, having my menses cycle and having a child and pregnancy, perimenopause, and over the last 5 years, menopause, I'm sharing with you some of the things that I've learned and experienced, and how yoga and Kundalini yoga helped me navigate all of that. Okay. Let's talk a little bit. So my intention today is a little bit of Western anatomy, just because there's a little bit of, our minds need to attach to something that we're familiar with or we feel has some credibility. And many of us have heard vocabulary either through doctors or maybe what we've read, more a little bit about Western anatomy and physiology on the hormones. So if we think about ourselves being in a community, right? Why are we drawn to being in a community, whether it's community of friends, a yogic community, those of us that love to dance, dancing community? Close your eyes for a second and just think about all your circles or your orbits of friends. School community, and it doesn't have to be physical, it could even be an online community, right? So being in community helps us to create a subtle but very powerful force in the lives of those other people in the community that we're a part of. Being in community connects us to a frequency or a pulse that is greater than if we were just sitting here by ourselves. And an example of that is, every morning I do sadhana, I do a morning practice, and I invite everyone to come join me. And so there's been a core group of us, and some people come in and out. But we've been doing a specific meditation now together for the last 90 days. And that frequency, that pulse that we tap into is very powerful. It helps us to keep up with the meditation and keep up with our intentions. So an example of community, right? Well, if we think about our glandular system or our hormonal system, so now the sun is setting, and I don't know what it looks like on your end, but I'm doing my best to not squint. It's going to go down really quick and then I'll be normal again. But our glandular system, our endocrine system, is kind of like that subtle force of community, but the community in our body. So each of our glands, right, they have an incredible influence on our body. And if we're all women on here, if we're all women here, we have experienced a lot of how our glands influence us, whether through menses or pregnancy or perimenopause, or if you're menopausal. They're a powerful force, right? Menses, we see, how it changes our bodies completely from, being a child to now being a young woman. Those of us that have our menstrual cycle, some of us have more premenstrual symptoms than others, but we feel them. It's not like brushing your hair with lots of conditioner in it where you don't feel anything. Everything is really smooth. Pregnancy, post-pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause, our glands, hormones are fierce. But what's interesting about our glands is without each other, they have zero power. They cannot work in isolation. Just like when we're alone versus when we're in community, yeah, we have some power, but in community, our force together as a community is even more powerful. So glands cannot work in isolation. They must exist in harmony with each other. So what's the significance of our glands, right? I'm going to read something from Deepak Chopra. He says, our biological rhythm in the symphony of the cosmos, music embedded deep within us to which we dance, even when we can't name the tune. Our biological rhythm is the symphony of the cosmos, embedded deep within us to which we dance, even when we can't name the tune. And that biological rhythm that he's talking about is regulated by our glandular system. So what, let's see, how else are they, how are they powerful, right? So our glands, in yoga, we use this word japa. And maybe some of you have seen t-shirts that say like, eat, sleep, play, repeat, or something like that, right? Eat, love, pray, repeat. Japa is that repeat. And so our glandular system is nurtured by a repetition of daily lifestyle and dietary habits. So our glandular system is nurtured, so it could either be nurtured or depleted by our daily practice or consumption, right? This repetition of lifestyle and dietary habits. So our glands, okay, when we think about just being in any kind of balance or what they call homeostasis, what is keeping us in that balance? Our glands. They manage the entire body state of balance. And a healthier daily repetition, right? A healthier discipline of lifestyle and dietary habits help us keep this homeostasis, right? We talk a lot about in Kundalini Yoga the glandular system and nervous system, right? Do this Kriya and it helps strengthen the glandular system. Do these exercises and it helps strengthen the nervous system. And why are we so concerned about glandular system and nervous system? Because those are the two systems that control all functions in the human body, right? Powerful. So what's also interesting about our glands, and so glands, what would these things be? Well, we've heard about metabolism, thyroid gland, immune system, thymus gland, mammary glands, right? If we're all women on here, we've heard about our ovaries, those are glands, kidneys, adrenals, pancreas, liver. Okay, so they all have this dedicated place in the body, and they're kind of discrete locations. It's not like a hand or, nose and eyes. And they're all in here, but they're not, they're not, there's a wire that's connecting my thymus to my thyroid, or an artery or a vein that's connecting like my liver, and like they're not in, there's nothing that's connecting them. So if our glands control all homeostasis, all balance in our body, like, are they just psychic and kind of like communicating with each other in code? Yeah, their communication relies on our blood, our lymph, and the most important thing, our nerve network to communicate with each other. Yogi Bhajan, he is the one that, brought Kundalini Yoga out of India and to the Western world. And he says glands are the guardians of our health. Guardians. The warriors, maybe. The angels. The guardians. And so why do we want a strong glandular system? Right? Benefits of a strong glandular system. And, let me just get through this because it's going to make sense when I talk about the yogic perspective, right? So a strong glandular system. Once again, why a lot of these things we do in Kundalini Yoga help give us a strong glandular system is with a strong glandular system, once again, the body is able to maintain balance. Or there's this word that they use, homeostasis. And what's homeostasis, right? It's this, the tendency to keep the body in stable equilibrium, right? A strong glandular system supports correct rhythms and processes in the body. So, quickly when I think of the top of my head, rhythms, our waking and sleeping, rhythms, our eating patterns, processes in the body. And these are external things, but rhythms, the heartbeat, rhythms, adrenal, cortisol, rhythms, pancreas, spleen, the liver, the processes of all the glands. The glandular system, when it's strong, also has a huge impact on our state of well-being. So, hormones, which is what the glandular system is all about, affects everything, right? And we've experienced it, from moods to energy level to stamina. And we've all been moody. Glandular system. Our energy levels, we've all experienced really super low energy levels. Glandular system. I have no stamina to keep up. I can't keep up. Glandular system, right? So a strong glandular system has an impact, an effect on these areas. So what's the primary purpose of our glandular system, right? I'm talking about the glandular system and hormones and why do we do Kundalini Yoga and meditation. It monitors the status of the body, okay? So if my thyroid isn't working well, when I start getting tired, when I'm hungry, and I'm not even including all the inner workings of the functions and the systems of my body, but it monitors all of that, and it secretes hormones to bring the body back into homeostasis or balance, or it brings the body back into its cycles and rhythms of life. So I have a little story. After I had my baby, which I had like a traumatic experience a couple days after he was born, first time mom, and it happens, this was some of the work that I did a lot with the moms in California. Come time when the child's 2, 3, 4, 5, there was a huge like adrenal fatigue. And so these adrenals, they're about the size of walnuts. And what I learned in healing myself from adrenal fatigue is these little tiny things, these little tiny glands, right? They're small and they sit on top of our kidneys. They're responsible for like over 30 hormones in our body. So, they secrete, and that these are just these adrenal glands. So I'm thinking if these adrenal glands, these little tiny glands secrete only over 30 hormones in our body, what are all the other glands doing? But the glandular system secretes hormones to bring us back into balance. They regulate our body's processes. And so all functions, how you're breathing, how you're perspiring, how your body's cooling down, what you see, how you smell, how much saliva, blood pressure. I can go on and on and on, right? Emotional state, right? Bliss, that emotional state of bliss. Yeah, that's the glandular system. That's one of their primary purposes. That sense of connection. The glandular system is also triggered by changes in blood chemistry. Okay, so even seeing someone who's really attractive, male or female, it triggers us. Changes in light, right? So the sun is starting to go down a little bit more, and I'm feeling a lot more calm than when I couldn't see anything. So let's talk about I'm going to talk about 3 major glands. And the reason I'm going to talk about these 3 major glands is because these are the 3 glands that are involved a lot when we meditate, okay? And when we do Kundalini yoga, because whenever we do any kind of exercises in Kundalini yoga, there's always a drishti point. And drishti is an eye focus, an eye looking place. So the first gland is the pineal gland. Okay, I'm not going to give my nicknames for that. But where is the location of this pineal gland? Center of your head. The chakra that is associated with the pineal gland. And for those of you who, are just starting to get interested in meditation, when you hear your teachers saying, focus at the crown of your head, this is going to give you a little bit more understanding and meaning of why we're looking at the crown of the head. So pineal gland is located in the center of the head. It's associated with the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is also known as the seat of our soul. And soul, spirit, divine self, whatever names or labels that resonate for you, right? It's also, the crown chakra is associated with 1,000-petal lotus flower. Its hormones, its main hormone is melatonin. So when we travel, jet lag, can't sleep, can't wake up, crown chakra, pineal gland, melatonin. Its main action regulates sleeping and waking. It's shaped like a pine cone, and the only reason I wanted to mention that is we don't use it much in Kundalini yoga, but I think in other yoga, I've heard in other meditation practices, they might have you, just visualize a pine cone when meditating. Strong Jalanda Bandha, right? So Jalanda Bandha is a body lock. It's a bandha. It's a neck lock. We pull our chin gently to the top of the throat to create, to avoid this, right? So we don't want to meditate like this. So we'll say Jalanda Bandha, right? Neck lock. Jalanda Bandha, a strong Jalanda Bandha during meditation allows that pineal gland to be stimulated. And the drishti, or the eye focus, is focus at the crown. And in some meditations, we're going to say, close the eyes, focus at the crown. So that's pineal gland, okay? Pituitary gland, it's about the size of a pea. Not a snow pea, but like the longer pea. So maybe about that big, right? And it's interesting because it kind of hangs out with this other gland that I'm going to talk about next, the hypothalamus gland. The chakra is the sixth chakra, the ajna, the third eye point. And let's check out some of the hormones, right? And there's a lot of them, and I can't say them all. So, but I wanted to just, my intention was to share with you all these hormones of the pituitary gland, because we talk a lot about the pituitary gland in Kundalini Yoga. Human growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, prolactin luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. Yes, I'm reading some notes. Melanocyte stimulating hormone, antidiuretic hormone, oxytocin. That's a lot of hormones this little tiny pea-sized gland deals with, right? And its main actions are growth, blood pressure, pregnancy, childbirth, breast milk production, sex organ functions, both in males and females, thyroid gland function, metabolism, water balance, temperature regulation, and pain relief. So when I think about, water balance, I think about some of the bloaty symptoms we get in premenstrual and perimenopause and menopause. When I think about temperature regulation, I think about, especially menopause, hot flashes. When I think about metabolism, weight metabolism, but metabolism and how we process things, right? How when we consume things, so energy, thoughts, actions, beverages, food, how do we metabolize that? How does that process within us, and then what kind of a ash or effect or residual does it leave in us? Okay, thyroid gland is metabolism association, sex organs. Those of us who, if you're yoga teachers and you're teaching pregnant women, one of the things that I learned from prenatal yoga classes is when you close your eyes and you focus at that looking place, the point between your eyebrows, which stimulates that pituitary gland. It's like that direct connection to your uterus. Blood pressure is a big one. In childbirth, okay, blood pressure can, my cousin, the doctor, she can tell us about how the blood pressure can go up and down. My blood pressure went up at one point during my labor, and I was put in a bathtub with lavender essential oil, and my midwife said, focus at the point between your eyebrows. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the pituitary gland some more, right? I like to call the pituitary gland the 5:31. I'm doing okay on time. The master gland, right? It's like the CEO of the whole glandular system, or sometimes I refer it to as like the grandma, the Lola, the wise woman of our whole glandular system, because it directs the activity of so many of our glands. And I talked about that looking place, the drishti, right? So when our eyes are closed and we focus them at the point between the eyebrow, how is the pituitary gland being stimulated? Via the optic nerve. But this is something that's really interesting about the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, how, when I think about the development, how was it developed? I guess how if we really want to get into some kind of esoteric conversation, we can just go on and on about, all the parts of our body. But we're going to focus on the pituitary gland, right? There goes that beep again. So it's developed from two different tissues. So when we were little tiny embryos in our mommy's bellies, right? The tissue of us budding as a fetus, right? That tissue of our upper palate, that same tissue is where the pituitary gland is developed from. But it's also developed, right, when we were like little tiny embryos, developed from the tissues of our nervous system. So when we were developing in our mother's wombs, right, this fetus tissue, as everything is kind of molding into place, some of this fetus tissue is made, our pituitary gland is made up of this tissue of the upper palate and the nervous system. So when we chant, a little bit more yogic perspective here, when we chant and we strike the tongue against the roof of the mouth, we are influencing the pituitary gland at its birthplace. So, that vibration of mantra and the effect it has on the pituitary gland is huge. And I'm going to explain a little bit why we want to have that effect. So let me go to the last gland, the hypothalamus gland. So the hypothalamus gland is located center of the brain, and it's interesting because the chakra is also the same chakra, the third eye point. And it produces hormones responsible for that homeostasis word again, right? That bringing that body back into equilibrium. But get this, it manages the release of the hormones by the pituitary gland. Manages the release of the hormones by the pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland and hypothalamus, that's why they're so closely connected up in the center of our brain. So what's the main function of the hypothalamus gland? It's kind of like the boss of the pituitary, or the controller. Not the controller, let's be a little bit more positive here. It stimulates or inhibits the pituitary gland, right? It also helps maintain homeostasis and metabolism. So it helps our metabolism keep that equilibrium and balance in our body. Body temperature, hunger, thirst, and the rhythm, our circadian rhythms, right? So rhythm of our days, our sleeping patterns, our eating patterns. And key word here, attachment behaviors. The hypothalamus gland is associated with attachment behaviors. So just make a little note on that, attachment behaviors. What's really interesting too is the hypothalamus gland is that bridge. It's the connecting point. It's that wire that connects the nervous system and glandular system. And the optic nerve crosses the space, right, between the pituitary and the hypothalamus gland. So when we close our eyes and we focus that looking place at the point between the eyebrows, we are having a powerful effect on the pituitary and the hypothalamus gland. Right? So the hypothalamus is saying, okay, pituitary gland hormones, go. And then remember I listed all those: thyroid, metabolism, hunger, thirst, pregnancy, da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay? The hypothalamus gland also translates nerve impulses to the pituitary. So let's condense this. We see, we smell, we hear, we taste, and we feel. All those senses are via the nervous system. So the hypothalamus gland, when it receives those nerve impulses, ooh, I'm starting to feel cooler. I'm smelling someone cooking some dinner. I'm starting to see the sunset go down and the sky and the clouds are changing colors. I'm hearing more activity of the birds. They create nerve impulses, and the hypothalamus gland translates those nerve impulses to the pituitary gland. And remember, the pituitary gland is the master gland. She controls all the systems in the body. So, the CEO. If the pituitary is our CEO, the hypothalamus is that hard working, behind the scenes, does all the logistics and executes all the projects and events that go on in our body. So the yogic perspective, we had talked about attachment habits. So we create these habits, and some of these habits that we have are learned in childhood. And they work for us. They're functional at this time. But at some point in time, right, we become the habits that we've created, right? So we create these certain rhythms or these certain lifestyles, these certain ways of doing things, and it starts at a very young age, and we move along, and maybe we acquire new habits, and then at some point, wow, these habits are now who I am. And some of these are, how we eat. How do we deal with emotions? Our levels of activity, physical activity, socially, our social skills. And these habits or these way of doing things are being influenced from all exterior things, our parents, family members, maybe kids at school, teachers. Think about all the experiences that we're exposed to. So these habits are regulated through the glandular system. And these habits can be affected by eye focus, drishti point, can be by chanting. When we chant or we vibrate mantras or we vibrate sound currents or we vibrate affirmations or vibrate the way we speak, our self-talk, pranayama. Okay, so self-talk, it's 5:40. I could do a whole hour on self-talk, self-care, self-love, right? But all these things create a vibration, and now that we know, and we're just looking at these three glands, the pituitary, hypothalamus, and pineal gland, affect our habits. And our habits can also be triggered by trauma. And we've all experienced trauma lately, right? COVID, this pandemic, has created immense trauma. And maybe trauma might not be the word that you're going to use to define it, but you're here right now. You're not like being born tomorrow, and so we're all experiencing the trauma of COVID and the pandemic, and some of us are even experiencing the trauma of this racial awakening worldwide. It's trauma, and whenever we have any kind of trauma or even stress, travel stress, change of life, moving stress, pregnancy stress, adolescence stress, it triggers the glandular system and creates a shift in things. And that's just like internally. That's not like us emotionally creating a shift and going, we've constantly had to have had pivoted, right? Like change and adjust like this. COVID's not giving us any time to adjust, right? It's like, this is the new way of doing things right now. And that creates immense shifts in our glandular system, right? So these shifts and these habits are being like jolted. I'm trying to do my best to kind of get through this so that I can share with you some things. All right, I had a couple of examples and stories, but I can't get into that right now. We spoke about drishti and energy locations, right? So let me go a little bit deeper in eye focuses, right? Third eye point. So we know about the pituitary gland, we know about the hypothalamus gland when we look at the third eye point. We know, or we've heard, and I'm happy to share some of these notes. We'll talk about how you can contact me or you can contact Awakened Soul. We've heard about these different hormones, but third eye focus also gives us clarity, intuition, insight, greater mental capacity. Who is not needing that right now? And here's a big thing, right? The unseen becomes seen. the unseen becomes seen. We live in so much uncertainty, and so are we going to allow this uncertainty to be a disservice, or are we going to allow it to elevate us? And you're like, Siri Prakash, how does uncertainty elevate me? I know the unknown is known to me, right? Quick example. How does uncertainty elevate me? It elevates us to be present right here, right now. But we had talked about and discussed and came up with like this new mantra that being present is the portal to love. Love of self, love of others, love of humanity, love, kindness, compassion, being present. So that's one way uncertainty can elevate you. I don't know what's happening next week. I can't plan my travel for next month, but I can be present right here, right now, right? Okay, crown chakra. When we focus on the crown, seat of the soul. What does that mean? The seat of the soul, right? Embodying the capacity to be your authentic self. Your authentic self, your blissful self, and to live with consciousness, right? So, coming into that place of divinity, soul, essence, divinity, spirit, higher self, your authentic self. So I focus. And we know that these energy centers, right, these focus points are linked to the pituitary, hypothalamus, and pineal gland, right? What's really interesting is when we meditate, right, during meditation, we deepen intuition. And when we deepen intuition, we expand the function of these glands. And when we expand the function of these glands, it allows us to build the capacity of self-acceptance, self-care, and self-love. And when we have those three, self-acceptance, it keeps us and helps us to self-care and self-love, allowing us to be present to the portal of love, right? So chanting, right? We talked about the pituitary gland and the upper palate, from fetus tissue and nervous system. Vibration. So some people are like, chanting, not really understanding. I don't understand the words. I don't understand. It's about vibration. It's about energy. We feel people's vibes. We give off vibes. Chanting creates vibes. It can be in a foreign language. It could be in your English language, creating a vibration. So between vibration and eye focus, we influence these glands to change, right? Pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus, to heal and to expand. So chanting these vibrations connects us to the pulse of our environment, our energies, and our, again, authentic self. Back to the authentic self. So really quick, we got 84 meridian points in the roof of our mouth. And when we create these vibrations and stimulate these different meridian points, it stimulates the glands in the brain through vibration. All right, let's meditate. So it's an English chanting vibration. And it also incorporates a hand mudra, which we're not going to go into the details of hand mudra right now. But we're going to interlock our hands like this, and we're going to hold them this way. Did we tune in yet? We didn't even tune in. So let's tune in first. Let's rub the palms together. And bring the base of your thumbs at your heart center. So press the base of your thumbs into the middle of your sternum. And behind that sternum is our thymus gland. And when you press your base of your thumbs here, you connect to the mind nerve. And with palms pressing together, base of the thumbs pressing into the mind nerve, it helps bring balance and calm to both sides of the brain. Bringing your spine straight, if that hasn't happened already. Gently close your eyes and focus your eyes at the point between your eyebrows. Connecting to your breath, which means connect to your inhale. Feel the breath go in through the nostrils. Feel the body expand. And bring your breath all the way down to your navel so that your navel expands out a little bit. And as you exhale, gently draw the navel back toward the spine, allowing the breath to exhale completely out. And continue this connection with your breath. Allow your breath to create a symphony of music and sound. Allow the inhale and the exhale to come in alignment with your spine, your heart space, your navel space, and your third eye. And using the sound current, Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Through the sound current, through the frequency, I invite you to connect to all your teachers, all people, all beings, all experiences, all lessons that brought you to the fullness, to the totality of who you are right now. We will repeat this mantra 3 times, and you're welcome to tune into the sound. You're welcome to just mouth the mantra, Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. And of course, you're welcome to vibrate it. Vibrate the palate, vibrate your heart space. Let the vibration of the sound current vibrate all of you. Inhale to begin. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Om Namo Guru Dev Namo. Inhale. Exhale. And keeping your hands here at your heart center, go ahead and interlace your fingers. And relax your elbows down. Relax the shoulders. Keep your eyes focused at the point between your eyebrows. Right? So now we know our optic nerve is stimulating that pituitary and that hypothalamus gland. And we know that the hypothalamus gland is carrying all these nerve impulses from all our senses and interpreting them and handing them over to the pituitary gland. Stay with your breath. And because this mantra is in English, listen to the first couple rounds and then join in, either chanting out loud or mouthing the words, whisper, or just sitting in the frequency. So don't worry about your tongue right now. When you chant, your tongue will move.
Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space.
Me within me is the reality.
Me within me is the purity.
Purity, I'm sorry. Me within me is reality.
Me within me is the grace.
I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity.
Me within me is the purity.
Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Keep the eye focused at the point between the brow. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of the space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality.
I am the master of this space. Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of this space.
Me within me is the purity. Me within me is the reality. Me within me is the grace. I am the master of this space. Inhale. Keep your eye focused at the point between the brow. Hold the mudra. Exhale. Keep your focus. Inhale again. Suspend the breath. Hold the mudra. Exhale. And one more time. Inhale deep. Hold the breath. Squeeze your anus, your rectum, your sex organs, what we call mulband or root lock. Squeeze the spine, consolidate the energy. Keep your focus at the point between your eyebrows. Exhale. Relax your hands on your knees, palms facing down. Keep your eyes closed. Relax your inhale and your exhale. Me within me is the purity. My thoughts, my actions are coming from my most authentic, true, highest self. Me within me is the reality. I know it's real. Not playing into the illusions of Maya, not playing into my fantasies. Me within me is the grace. The connection with the seed of my soul. That self-love, that self-compassion. So that I may love others and have compassion for others. I am the master of the space. My sovereign self, that authority within me. Okay, relax your breath. I want to wrap this up a little bit, okay? Wrap up my hormonal health and the yogic perspective. And once again, you know, hormones, as we've just heard with 3 glands, they're dynamic. And is Kundalini yoga and meditation going to heal and readjust your glandular system and your nervous system from all the stress, trauma, triggers of life? No. Is Kundalini yoga and meditation going to help support the healing process? Yes. So I've been doing this for a long time, okay? And I went through, you know, the trauma or the stress of menopause. During my navigation of menopause, I created habits to soothe me. And some of them were good habits, healthy habits, and some of them were not bad habits. And some of them were symptoms, like not sleeping at night, you know, weird, crazy cravings, energy, stamina, zero, drinking lots of coffee because I just need to keep going and keeping up, right? Sugar for energy. Created some crazy habits around that. And this is just one small example. And let's not throw COVID on top of it, okay? Or moving to another country on top of any of that, all right? Just menopause itself, right? So just pick one of your traumas or one of your stresses, and think about, some of the things that you've created. And maybe not intentionally, but I had a lot of body soreness in my early menopause. I felt like I had arthritis. I wasn't moving. So now I have these crazy habits, and I needed to discharge them. I needed to detox from these habits, right? And so, I tried a lot of different things, and I'm not plugging Panchakarma, but I can't help but talk about Ayurveda medicine, but detox. And so some of the work I did a lot in California with women, who wanted to lose weight or get over their adrenal fatigue, was detox. Do a detox, any kind of a detox. There's phase 1 and phase 2 of liver detoxification. Through Chinese medicine, there's a detox. Ayurvedic medicine, there's detoxes. Do a detox. Take care of that liver. And when you do this detox, do a holistic detox, right? Just don't detox physically, but you got to do a mind detox, right? And so that's where meditation and yoga comes into, like, getting rid of some of these deep-seated beliefs that we have, right? So I had to go through this detox, and then I had to, eliminate, right, deep-seated patterns, beliefs, habits within my body, and then I had to regenerate myself. Eating foods that are meant for your constitution, my constitution, not what we think, but really deeply innately what is proper for my body. So what I ate in my 30s and my 40s, what I did in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, the way I exercised, that's not happening now for me at 55, right? No. I have a different constitution, and I'm eating a different way, and I'm exercising a different way so that I can feel better. So how Kundalini Yoga meditation, it supports the well-being when we're doing all of this work, right? And when we support and we do all of this work, right, lifestyle habits, dietary habits and patterns, healthy lifestyle, healthy dietary habits that are right for your constitution or your body where you are today. Remember I talked about early on this repetitive thing? Our glandular system likes this repetitive rhythm of these things. And Kundalini Yoga and meditation is one of those things that give us that repetitive meditation. We just experience 11 minutes of the same mantra. And a lot of these exercises that we do in Kundalini Yoga are these repetitive things. Waking up before the sun rises and doing your morning meditation practice, or before you go to bed, or at some time, the same time every day, is that repetitive cycle that your glandular system can be supported and can be happy and can be built and can become strong in. Anyway, there's like foods that support the glandular system. There's certain yoga poses and exercises that we can do that support the glandular system and the nervous system. But we've gone on for a good solid hour, and I think that's good, right? All right, so Sat Nam, vibrate it. Sat is truth, Nam is self. Look at that third eye point. Let that pituitary and hypothalamus know that you are vibrating your authentic self. You're vibrating a healthy pituitary gland. You're vibrating a strong pituitary gland. You're vibrating your true self. You are vibrating your I am, I am. We'll do it 3 times. Okay. So palms together again at the heart center. Spine is straight. Eyes focus at the point between your eyebrows. Inhale deep. Exhale. And one inhale to begin. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Vibrate you, vibrate your light, vibrate your beauty. Satnam.